She was one of Hollywood's most celebrated actresses. British elegance, refined talent, movies like Vicky Cristina Barcelona and The Prestige. But for most of her life, Rebecca Hall had no idea that her own grandfather had spent decades hiding who he really was.
This is the heritage your grandfather was walking away from.
He performed on vaudeville stages as a Dakota chief, wore ceremonial headdresses, claimed indigenous royalty. The truth? He was a black man from Washington, D.C., the grandson of slaves, who erased his entire heritage to survive in Jim Crow America. And Rebecca only discovered this secret when she started researching her film Passing, a movie about the very thing her family had been doing for generations. If you missed part 1, which I've linked below for you to watch next, you already know that Hollywood's golden age was built on secrets. Stars like Carol Channing and Merle Oberon hid their black ancestry behind invented stories, studio cover-ups, and outright lies. Back then, even a single drop of African blood could destroy a career, so families did what they had to do to survive. Some of these stars grew up not even knowing their own heritage. Others knew but were told to keep quiet. And then there's a third group, modern celebrities who only discovered their African roots through DNA tests, census records, and genealogy shows like Finding Your Roots. Today we're uncovering 14 more celebrities from the past 60 years whose black ancestry was hidden, downplayed, or shockingly revealed. These aren't the ones everyone already knows about. These are the stories that will make you say, wait, really? Let's start with number 14. Rebecca Hall grew up in London, the daughter of theater director Peter Hall and opera star Maria Ewing. Her mother's side of the family always had this exotic, mysterious quality. Maria was strikingly beautiful, with features that people couldn't quite place. The family story was that Rebecca's grandfather, Norman Ewing, was a Dakota chief, indigenous royalty with a fascinating past. Except none of it was true. When Rebecca started researching her 2021 film, Passing, about light-skinned black people who lived as white in the 1920s, she discovered she was making a movie about her own family. Genealogists traced her grandfather, Norman, back to Washington, D.C., where records showed something shocking. He wasn't Native American at all. He was a black man, and not just any black man. His father, John Ewing, had been born enslaved in Virginia and later became a prominent community leader. Norman had invented the entire chief persona to escape the color line. He performed in vaudeville wearing headdresses and buckskin, claiming Dakota heritage because being Indian was more acceptable than being black. Rebecca was devastated. She told The Guardian, "In any family that has a legacy of passing, you inherit all of the shame and none of the pride." DNA testing confirmed it. Rebecca is 0% Native American. Her exotic looks came from her African ancestors, not some mythical tribal chief. The revelation transformed her understanding of her mother, who had grown up never fully knowing why her father was so secretive, so distant. It also gave the film Passing a haunting, personal dimension. Rebecca wasn't just directing a period piece, she was telling her family's buried truth. She was the first black woman on the cover of British Vogue. She was the muse of Salvador Dali. She walked runways in Paris and Milan, but DONYALE Luna spent her entire career running from the fact that she was black.
I was all in black and not very chic and very young and big eyes looking at everything.
Born Peggy Ann Freeman in Detroit to African-American parents, DONYALE reinvented herself to escape a traumatic childhood. She fled to New York, then Europe, where she created a persona of exotic otherness. She claimed to be Mexican, Irish, and Indonesian. She famously said, "I'm not a I'm the moon." She wore blue contact lenses. She wore blonde wigs. She used camp and eccentricity as a shield, becoming so strange and otherworldly that people stopped asking where she was really from. The black press wanted to celebrate her as a barrier breaker, but she rejected the title. She feared being labeled the black model would limit her career. Tragically, she passed away in 1979 at just 33, after struggling with personal challenges. A heartbreaking figure who broke the color barrier by pretending she didn't have a color. DONYALE opened the door for Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, but to do it, she had to erase herself. When Prison Break premiered in 2005, Wentworth Miller became an instant heartthrob, chiseled jaw, blue eyes, playing Michael Schofield, a genius engineer trying to break his brother out of prison. And here's the thing. On the show, Michael's brother Lincoln was played by Dominic Purcell, a white Australian actor. The audience was supposed to believe these two men were biological brothers, but in real life, Wentworth Miller is biracial. His father is black, a mix of African-American, Jamaican, German, and English. His mother is white, with Russian, Swedish, French, Dutch, Syrian, and Lebanese ancestry. Wentworth has described himself as a racial lone ranger, never quite fitting into any category. His father is black, but Wentworth doesn't look it, so Hollywood cast him as a white leading man and nobody asked questions. He's spoken about the painful irony of his career. My father is black and my mother is white. Everyone has a right to know that. But for years, the industry didn't want audiences to know. They wanted Wentworth Miller, the ambiguous action star, not Wentworth Miller, the biracial man whose father fought against racism in the 1960s. In recent years, Wentworth has become more vocal about his heritage, using his platform to challenge Hollywood's obsession with racially safe leading men. He's also come out as gay, adding another layer to his experience of living between worlds. Daniel SUNJATA spent his career playing Puerto Rican and Italian characters. On Rescue Me, he was Franco Rivera, the hot-headed Latino firefighter. In Graceland, he was Paul Briggs, an FBI agent who could blend into Latino undercover work. The industry looked at him and saw Latin lover, but Daniel SUNJATA is black. He was adopted as a baby and raised by white parents in Chicago. His biological father was African American. He didn't know much about his bio dad for years, but he knew enough. He wasn't Latino. He was a black man, yet Hollywood refused to cast him that way. His racially ambiguous features, tan skin, dark eyes, sharp jawline, made him perfect for ethnic chameleon roles. So he became Franco Rivera, and his actual black heritage was erased. The irony isn't lost on him. He once joked in an interview, "I am an African-American man who plays Latino on TV. It's a strange place to be, hiding in plain sight." His name, SUNJATA, is actually a tribute to SUNJATA KEITA, the founder of the Mali Empire. His adoptive father chose it to honor his African roots. But in Hollywood, he's just the guy who plays Latinos. When Gossip Girl premiered in 2007, Jessica SZOHR's character, Vanessa Abrams, was supposed to be the outsider from Brooklyn, grounded, artsy, and different from the Upper East Side elite, but fans were confused. Was Vanessa supposed to be Latina? Mixed? What was Jessica SZOHR? The answer? She's Hungarian on one side and quarter African American on the other. Her father is of mixed heritage, her mother is white. The CW cast her specifically for this ethnically ambiguous quality. The original character in the book series was a white girl with a shaved head. The showrunners wanted to add diversity without being too specific about it, so they cast Jessica, who could be read as Latina, Middle Eastern, Italian, anything really. She's spoken about the pressure to pick a side, about being called white passing, while also being told she's not white enough for certain roles. Jessica's story is classic 2000s Hollywood. Diversity as a vague aesthetic choice, not a meaningful representation. Jessica Parker Kennedy grew up in Calgary, Canada, as the daughter of an African-Canadian father and a white mother. It's a lot of identities to hold at once. With her light skin and freckles, she often faced confusion from casting directors. She said that in school, she gravitated toward the only black girl in class because she desperately wanted to connect with that side of herself, even though she looked like she didn't belong. In her early career, she lost roles for not matching the urban stereotype of blackness, but she also got typecast as Latina or Islander, like her role as Max in Black Sails, filling the quota for exotic beauty, while her actual black heritage was ignored. It was only when she was cast as the daughter of Iris West, played by Candice Patton, on The Flash that her specific biracial identity was finally validated on screen. She said, "I gravitated toward the black community because I wanted to belong, even if the world looked at me and didn't see it." In the 1990s, Gabrielle REECE was the face of athletic beauty, tall, blonde, blue-eyed. She was on the covers of major magazines. She embodied the California girl aesthetic. But her father, Robert Eduardo REECE, was a black man from Trinidad. He passed away in a plane crash when Gabrielle was young, and she was raised by her white mother and stepfather. Because she looked entirely white, her African-Caribbean heritage became a footnote, a fun fact that rarely came up. In her memoir, Gabrielle has written about the cognitive dissonance of looking like the ultimate white American girl while knowing her father was a black man from the islands. She's described herself as an imposter in conversations about race, possessing the DNA but none of the cultural context or lived experience. Gabrielle's story is a stark example of how genetics can completely mask ancestry. She is the daughter of a black man, yet holds all the privilege of a white woman. SOFIA Richie is the youngest daughter of Lionel Richie, one of the most famous black musicians in the world. But because she inherited her mother's lighter features, people constantly forget she's black. In an interview with Complex magazine, SOFIA opened up about a painful reality. "I'm very light, so some people don't really know that I'm black. I've been in situations where people will say something unkind about race, and I'll step in, and they'll be like, oh, well, you're light. She's experienced the strange phenomenon of white people saying racist things in front of her, assuming she's one of them. Sophia grew up in a black household. Her father is a legend. But in the fashion industry, she's often marketed as ethnically ambiguous or simply white adjacent. The industry loves her look, racially vague enough to appeal to everyone. But for Sophia, it's been isolating. She's Lionel Richie's daughter. She's black, but she spends her life explaining that to people who look at her and don't see it. Amber Rose is famous for her shaved head, her curves, and her unapologetic personality. She's been on magazine covers, dated rappers, and built a brand around body positivity. But in 2015, she revealed something heartbreaking in the documentary Light Girls. Amber's mother is Cape Verdean, a mix of West African and Portuguese ancestry. Her father is Irish and Italian. Growing up, her older family members identified as Creole or Portuguese, viewing themselves as superior to darker-skinned Black Americans. When Amber got engaged to rapper Wiz Khalifa, her family refused to attend the wedding. Why? Because Wiz was too dark. Amber tearfully explained on camera, "My family feels like they're superior. I'm angry that they want to pass so bad. I am black. I embrace it." She had to break the cycle of colorism that had poisoned her family tree for generations. Amber's story exposed the painful colorism within some mixed communities. The idea that claiming more European ancestry felt like a step up, even if it hurt. We are about to get into the top 5, including the daughters of 2 massive music legends who lived completely different experiences. If you're finding these hidden histories as fascinating as I do, take a quick second to hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel uncover more stories just like these. Also, let me know in the comments whose story has surprised you the most so far. All right, let's get back to the list. KITT Shapiro is the daughter of one of the most iconic Black women in entertainment history, Eartha Kitt. But if you saw KITT on the street, you'd assume she was white. Blonde hair, light skin, blue eyes. Growing up, people constantly asked Eartha, "Where did you get this white baby?" They accused her of adopting KITT as a prop or a publicity stunt, but KITT is Eartha's biological daughter.
Whether I am truly my mother's biological child, which is hurtful and insulting.
Her father, John William McDonald, was a white man, and through the genetic lottery, KITT inherited features that made her look nothing like her famous mother. In her memoir, KITT writes about the painful experience of being visually severed from her own heritage. She was raised in Black excellence, her mother was a legend, but she moved through the world as a white woman. She's been accused of appropriating her mother's legacy. She's been told she doesn't have the right to speak on Black issues. But as she writes, "People told my mother she couldn't possibly be my mother, but I am her blood. I am the evidence of her survival." KITT Shapiro proves that lineage isn't about skin tone. It's about whose story you carry. Maya Rudolph has never hidden her heritage. Her mother was Minnie Riperton, the legendary soul singer behind Lovin' You. Her father, Richard Rudolph, is white music producer. But here's the thing. For years, mainstream audiences had no idea Maya was Black. She was on SNL for 7 years, playing everyone from iconic singers to massive pop stars like Beyoncé, but the show rarely acknowledged her actual racial background. She was just the funny girl. It wasn't until she started doing press for Bridesmaids that journalists began asking about her mother, and people were shocked. Wait, Maya Rudolph is Minnie Riperton's daughter? Maya grew up in a Black household. Her mother died of cancer when Maya was just 6, a trauma that shaped her entire life. But because she looks racially ambiguous, Hollywood marketed her as just Maya, not as a Black woman. Her story shows how even when celebrities are open about their heritage, the industry can still erase it through silence. Jason Kidd is one of the greatest point guards in NBA history. He's also the current head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. And if you didn't know better, you'd think he was just another white guy in basketball. But Jason Kidd is Black. His father is African American. His mother is Irish American. He was raised in an African American household in Oakland, California, immersed in Black culture despite his lighter appearance. In the NBA, he faced questions about his identity his whole career. Was he Black enough? Was he white? Jason's answer was always simple. I'm Black. That's how I was raised. His story is a reminder that the one-drop rule cuts both ways. In the eyes of the law, Jason Kidd would have been considered Black. But in the eyes of the public, he's been questioned his whole life. Mimi Sommer is the oldest daughter of disco legend Donna Summer. Her father, Helmut Sommer, was a white German man. Her mother was the queen of disco. And Mimi, she looks white. She's managed her mother's estate since Donna's death in 2012, keeping the legacy alive. But casual fans often don't realize she's Donna's biological daughter. Like KITT Shapiro, Mimi inherited the features of her white parent, visually disconnecting her from her Black heritage, but she's never denied it. She's never hidden it. She's Donna Summer's daughter. That's her legacy, regardless of what she looks like. Giancarlo Esposito is one of the most respected actors in television. As Gus Fring on Breaking Bad, he delivered one of the most chilling performances in TV history. But here's what surprises people. Giancarlo's mother was an African-American opera singer from Alabama. His father was an Italian carpenter and stagehand from Naples. He was born in Copenhagen while his parents worked in Europe, then raised in Manhattan. For decades, audiences assumed Giancarlo was Latino. His name, his look, his roles, everything coded as Hispanic. He's played cartel bosses, Cuban revolutionaries, and Latin American power brokers. But Giancarlo is Black. He's Italian. He's both. On Finding Your Roots, he traced his mother's lineage back to enslaved ancestors in the Deep South and his father's line to Italian artisans. Giancarlo's career proves that Hollywood's ethnic chameleon era is still alive. He's been everything on screen except what he actually is, a Black Italian man from New York. But now, he's reclaiming all of it. From Rebecca Hall's grandfather performing as a fake Native American chief, to Wentworth Miller fighting for leading man roles, to DONYALE Luna claiming to be from the moon, these 14 stories show us that Hollywood's relationship with race didn't end in the 1960s. It just got more subtle. The industry stopped demanding that stars actively hide their heritage. Instead, it just stopped asking. It let biracial actors fade into ambiguity. It cast them as ethnically vague love interests. It erased their Blackness through silence. Some of these celebrities, like Daniel SUNJATA and Jessica Parker Kennedy, have spent their careers fighting to be seen accurately. Others, like Gabrielle REECE and Mimi Summer, carry their heritage quietly, knowing the world will always see them as white. And then there are the tragic ones, like DONYALE Luna, who broke barriers by pretending she had no race at all. But here's what gives me hope. The era of hiding is ending. DNA tests are pulling secrets out of family trees. Finding your roots is forcing conversations. Social media is making it impossible to erase someone's heritage with a studio press release. The celebrities we covered today are part of a much bigger story. The story of how America has always been more mixed, more complicated, more Black than it wanted to admit. So here's what I want you to take away from this. The next time you see a celebrity who looks white, remember Rebecca Hall. Remember Wentworth Miller. Remember that white is often just a performance, a trick of the light, a decision someone's great-grandparent made to survive. And if this video made you think differently about race, identity, or Hollywood, share it with someone who needs to hear these stories. Because the past isn't the past. It's living in our bloodlines, our names, and the faces we see on screen. Thanks for watching.